Good afternoon, my name is Stone Drennan, and today I'm going to be speaking a little bit on John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed from 2020. Reading The Anthropocene Reviewed, you get a real sense of what John Green cares about, primarily the current geologic age in which humans have profoundly reshaped the planet and its biodiversity. Green shows a hyper-aware degree of anxiety and OCD which makes it impossible for him to leave no stone unturned concerning the plethora of problems in the modern world. Somehow showing the extent of his own anxiety and concern simultaneously attenuates the reader's own concerns. Especially during a global pandemic, you would think people would like nothing better than to lay low until things resolve themselves magically. Green instead speaks seemingly at random about disparate topics in such a way that doesn't make him seem crazy, but sensible and sane, a voice of reason in a time it is most needed. The thing to me that makes our current geological age ours is the simple fact that we have the capacity to think about our experience and our effect on the world in a way the Earth's other organic inhabitants do not share. For all our thinking, it starts to become clear that there are some very recognizable patterns in the thought process of humans. These patterns are like the glue that binds all these seemingly disparate aspects of the human experience which Green writes about. In one of Green's essays, Googling Strangers, he opines, "I'm not sure whether it's even possible to talk about the suffering of others without exploiting that suffering, whether you can write about pain without glorifying or ennobling or degrading it." In a later essay, Wintry Mix, Green writes, "There's a phrase in literary analysis for our habit of ascribing human emotions to the non-human, the pathetic fallacy which is often used to reflect the inner life of characters through the outer world. As when Keats in Ode to Melancholy writes of a weeping cloud, or Shakespeare in Julius Caesar refers to threatening clouds, and so on. It really feels here like the pathetic fallacy we ascribe to other parts of nature besides just ourselves is the same pathetic fallacy we ascribe to the experiences of other humans as well. Just as we ascribe human emotion and modes of understanding to insentient clouds, incapable of the same human thought processes, we are also only able to conceive the suffering of others in terms of our personal experiences. Everybody relates everything, human or not, to their own experiences, and it is once arbitrary and inevitable, important only to us. Even Keats and Shakespeare are arbitrary within the full scope of the natural world, important only to those who read them and share the same capacity of human understanding, but not to the clouds and so forth, by which they are inspired. We read about these clouds which are weeping and threatening, and it makes sense, but only because we are the only organisms capable of both reading and feeling. This may be why a series of 48 seemingly unrelated essays may in fact be more involved with one another than they at first seem to be. A human author using his humanity discerns meaning from Green's subjects in much the same way any human would be liable to as well. Profoundly reshaping the planet and its biodiversity isn't just about the physical changes happening to our planet because of us. The world is also being reshaped by the way in which we conceive it, a way that will likely never be possible again after we are gone. The Anthropocene, therefore, cannot be discerned or resolved within a single lifetime. It is the accumulation of human experience, and it can only be deciphered by building upon the meaning that has been slowly added to it since humanity began. It doesn't make sense that we must rely on the efforts and contributions of people we will never meet or know to resolve the problems shared, however disproportionately, by the entire human species. Green knows this. Writing of Monopoly, he says, "The story we hear of an individual rightly rewarded for his genius turns out to be a far more complicated story of a woman who created a game that thousands of collaborators then improved by playing it." I suspect that the moral of what he is telling us has very little to do with the board game, but with the game of reality. The outcome of our lives is not decided by one person, just as the genius we attribute to something seldom derives from one mind. The meaning we attach to things is collectively added to over time. We shouldn't base our expectations on the ingenuity of others when the myth of genius is repeatedly debunked by the reality that it is we who give meaning and purpose to life by our shared, uniquely inherent ability as humans to think and act according to what we decide. In one of Green's best essays, The Penguins of Madagascar, Green also shows his readers how people can also be like the non-human members of nature they are most hesitant to recognize or identify as like them. In it, Green begins with a description of the opening sequence of The Penguins of Madagascar before segueing into a unilateral discourse about the myth of the lemming. Lemmings are rodent-like creatures that have been long believed to commit mass suicide as a form of population correction. Green informs that this myth has existed in large part due to the 1958 Disney documentary, White Wilderness. Rather than face the difficulty of filming the lemmings in their natural habitat, the filmmakers flew the film's lemmings to the film's location of Calgary and filmed them as they were falling to their death from the back of the truck they were dumped out of. From this point, Green metaphorizes the documentary not as a search for truth, but a representation of the lengths people reach to hold on to the lies and myths of the past. These myths we create persist to the point of inserting themselves into the popular language. Lemming has become a derogatory term used to describe those who unquestioningly follow. Though it is wildly untrue, the myth that lemmings are blindly guided by some unseen death-driving force has become another pathetic fallacy, one which humans ironically hesitate to see in themselves when they believe in such myths. We so readily accept that a cloud weeps like us as readily as we accept other animals as beings without consciousness, mindlessly following the leader to they know not where. But in that construction, Green tells us, we sometimes forget that we are also animals. The idea of blindly following one another to each's collective demise is a concept completely foreign to the reality of the lemmings, but not to ours. Yet, in the same way we ascribe the human act of weeping to clouds, we defer our own human impulses and a reality we only haltingly accept to another species whose existence contradicts the pathetic fallacy observed in the myth we have created for them. Like most myths, we choose to continue believing the myth of the lemming not because of what it teaches us about lemmings, but because it contains the often unrecognized truth about ourselves, that we too blindly accept our destinies as forces beyond our control.